Okay, so we're going to solve which internet plan is better. And like I said, we went and found out some information from a company here. And they have bandwidth. Okay, so we're looking at their bandwidth charges. Their charges start at 300 gigabytes. So in other words, you can use up to 300 gigabytes for the price of $32.95. You can always round it to $33 if we'd like to make this a little easier. And they also have the same plan, so the same ideas in terms of speed, uploading, downloading, unlimited at $40 a month. What we want to do is kind of figure out at what point does it make sense to change from the 300 gigabyte plan to the unlimited plan. Okay? And what we need to know is what they don't advertise right away on the front. We had to click over here. We found this out. That they're overcharged. Their overcharge is 50 cents or $0.5 per gigabyte to a max of $25. Okay? So in other words, you can only pay them a max amount of money. And which of the two plans does this apply to? The 300 or the unlimited? Or both? 300? What about the unlimited? Can we do that? Why doesn't it apply to the unlimited? Because it's unlimited. I can't have an overcharge, right? I can use as much as I like. So this overcharge really only applies to the 300 gigabyte plan. Okay? Now, when we go to make this graph, I could start at 0 gigs or gigabytes, but it doesn't really make sense because I'm going to have a flat line of $33. Because whether I use 0 gigabytes or 299 gigabytes, they're still going to charge me that price of $32.95. We're going to round it to 33, okay? Just to make this a little nicer to look at. Okay, or in other words, $33, and this one's the $40, okay? So, we're actually going to have to make this graph here in order to set this up. A blank scale. I don't really have a blank scale. Okay, I'll take the one from one, that's okay. And we'll just make it bigger. Hopefully this works. Let's move this down. Okay, so we have our graph. Now, remember, in terms of gigabytes, technically we start at 300. So I'm sure you guys have seen this idea before. Really what this graph's going to look like, okay, and we would need this to go up to 300. So we're going to call these the gigabytes on the bottom. Okay, so this is our gigabytes, and this is our pricing. Okay, we know that technically, and we'll call the origin our starting point. Our starting point on this plan here is technically at 300 gigabytes. That's where we start. And technically our price is technically $33. Okay. Now I could make the graph so I start at 33, but we'd have to make this graph go all the way to 300, and essentially we'd have a flat line. Whoa, that's not straight. Let me try again. There we go. We'd have a straight line up until 300. So instead of doing that part, what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the overcharge. We know we pay $33 no matter how much we use. So let's talk about 1 gigabyte over 300. And that's what our origin is going to be. How much is it going to cost us at 1 gigabyte over 300? Okay? So all of these prices are prices added on to $33. Okay? So what does that mean? At $2, how much are we actually paying?
30%.
Close.
35.
35. We're adding this $2. So we're adding $2 to our starting price. So this is like paying $35. At $4, how much are we paying? 37. At $6, how much are we paying? 39. And at $8, how much are we paying? 41. Now, I do want to compare. What do we round our unlimited plan to? 40. And it's $40 no matter what. So we're going to put a line here that would be technically here, just in between. This is the unlimited plan. Okay? No matter what we do, that's what we're going to get charged. So we have a horizontal line. There's no difference here. But in our other plan, we're going to start at the origin for each gigabyte. Now remember, it was 50 cents for every gigabyte. Okay? So in other words, we had 0.5, and we'll say X is our gigabytes. Okay? That's our X-axis there. So what ends up happening is our price goes up 0.5 for every 1 gigabyte. Okay? So up 0.5 for another here. So I'll put these points in, and we're going to follow this graph. Hopefully it works here. Goes over, over. So it looks like we're going up 1, over 2, right, in terms of what we have. So we're going to continue this. Looks like we're going to go a little farther than I hoped. We have 10. This point would be 12. This would be 14. Okay, so let's try to make sense of this. This would be our second graph. Okay, we went up 0.5 over 1, up 0.5 over 1. So what we found is because at 10, we were still below the unlimited. If we went 10 gigabytes over, we were still only paying what looks like $36 a month, and that was 10 gigabytes over. At 12 gigabytes over, we were paying $39 a month. And at 14, it's not exact, there you go, 14 gigabytes over, we're paying that $40 a month, okay? So let's try to make sense of this. We started at 300, 14 gigabytes over tells us what? How much? How much usage are we have? How much bandwidth did we use? 14 gigabytes over. What? 314. So, in other words, this plan makes sense. The 300 gigabyte plan makes sense. Anything under, that's not supposed to be dollars, that's supposed to be gigabytes. This plan makes sense at anything under 314 gigabytes. So it's actually worth it for me anywhere between 300 and anything between the price of 300 and we'll say 313.99 gigabytes. Okay? It's technically cheaper. If I'm anywhere, well, technically from 0 to 313.99, just under, it makes sense to use the 300 unlimited plan. We'll technically pay less money. As soon as I get up to 314 gigabytes, remember our cost was $40. Well, in that case, we might as well just pay the $40 for the unlimited plan. And then I can continue to use as much as I like. Okay? So, even if you use over 300, there is a point where this first plan makes a little more sense. That small area between 300 and 313 roughly is where it makes more sense to use the first plan than it does the second plan. Okay?